Thank you.
Hey, let me welcome Nate, and had a great time hanging out with him some this morning. He does come from the West Coast a little bit, the western side, but we spent a lot of time talking about barbecue and firearms and horses and pig hunting, so he's got a lot of Texan in him.
Look.
Absolutely. Got the boots to prove it. All right.
I got these boots here in Texas a few years ago to say my name on them. Pretty cool state. I actually really love Texas, you know, and the thing that's so funny about it is that a lot of times when we start looking across the country, we start realizing that people are real different. You know, there's a lot of similarities in the sense that we all speak English, and we all have this similar idea of what freedom means to us in the sense that, you know, we want to be able to make decisions for ourselves. And, you know, I've lived all over this darn country, and I was raised in rural Utah for the most part, and I'll tell you what, I've been living in Los Angeles the last couple of years, and I can't wait to get out. It's just a little bit different version of freedom than I'm used to, that's for darn sure. So it's a real pleasure to be here with all of you in Texas. I love Texas. It is a fantastic state, and of course, I remember the Alamo. Yeah. My grandmother lives here. My aunts and uncles live here. I've been coming here for a really long time. So, beautiful place, and thank you for having me. Thank you, Mr. Hotchkiss, for having me out here. Thanks for paying for all this. Appreciate it, appreciate it. Guys, let me tell you something that's so crazy. So, I sold a few belts. About $25 million worth or something now, okay? And a belt is probably it's the dumbest idea for a business of all time. It's totally stupid. It's dumb. Belts have been around forever. I was raised in a very religious home growing up, and you know, as a kid, I remember seeing pictures of Moses with the 10 Commandments, and what was holding his rope together? A belt. This is not a new idea. It's been around for absolutely ages. Even this type of belt that I make that works with the clicks, it's not particularly special or new. It's been floating around the world for 40 years. But nobody ever really bought a lot of them until somebody decided to show people why it was okay to buy. Now, you're all in an industry that is crucial, would you say? It's probably slightly more crucial than the one I'm in, right? But everybody's got a waist, and guess what? Everybody needs a house or a building or something, right? Big part of what I do with most of my money is I buy real estate. I buy real estate so I can rent it to people. So what you all do is crucial to my financial future. It's crucial to your financial future, all right? So there's not a problem with people wanting what you got. Do you agree with that? Well, yeah or no? Okay, sure, all right. Guys, the thing about it is you got to realize this, though, is that in the world we live in, people do not know what to buy until we tell them it's okay, until we give them permission. All right? You look at all these big companies who are out there doing things. Oakley, did they invent sunglasses? No, they didn't. Did Chevrolet invent cars? Are those guys in business? Are they doing well? You think Nike invented shoes? Guys, I'm not an inventor, and I want to remind you all, you don't need to be either. A lot of times in business, we get so caught up in trying to be new and different that we forget the simple, basic core things that all people want. Who here runs an honest business? Okay. How many times have you heard in marketing where people say, well, we're honest, or you can trust us? Is that special, unique, or different? Is it? Even dishonest people raise their hand right now, right? Oh, yeah, my business is real good, right? I know a few of you screwed some people. That's okay, though, yeah. I'm just teasing. But the thing about it is, guys, is that no matter what, everybody's going to claim that. Do you agree? Is it reasonable to believe that everybody who makes belts makes the same same sort of claims? Our belts are good. They're made from 100% leather, blah, 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 blah. Same old crap, right? Right? You agree? Okay. The point is how do we change this? How do we make this so we stand out? Guys, let me tell you something right now. The old way of selling is dead. It's dead. It's gone. It's over. The internet came out and it changed and destroyed absolutely everything. You are no longer a mile or 2 miles or the next town over from your nearest competitor. You're an inch down the screen. And that's if you're doing your part right. Some of you aren't even showing up on the screen. Okay? And, you know, there's a restaurant that I love. I think it's so darn good. And I go to this restaurant all the time. And the best thing they have on the menu isn't on the menu. You have to ask for it. And I thought to myself, you know, why the heck wouldn't you put this on the menu? Why wouldn't you do it? And I asked the guy, he says, oh, we've never gotten around to it. People won't buy things unless it's on the menu. So if people can't find you, you don't even have a chance at doing business, right? Who here thinks that the internet's a scary, horrible thing? Just me? It's a horrific, horrible space where somebody with almost no money and no experience can get online, build a website, and put a thing together, and they can seem like your exact competitor. They can come off as somebody who is just as capable as you, or more so. Business cards are dead. Business cards don't matter like they used to matter. Today it's all about online. Everything's online. And one of the ways I took my tiny little crappy business and was able to sell so much stuff is because of the internet. I was able to come across as very professional. By the end of this hour, you're all going to realize that that is a pretty good act I've been putting on. But the thing about it is, though, guys, is that you got to understand that you are in a new battlefield. If you made a lot of money the decade before last, good for you. That's great. Taking it to the next level now, you're going to be competing with people who understand this online space. Now, guys, you don't have to become experts. Isn't that good news? Who here's pretty good at building? If you're not raising your hand, I want to talk to you afterwards. Are you good at building? Is there anybody here who doesn't feel like they're good at building? Okay. Guys, let me just tell you right now, I'm sure all of you are better at building than I am. I did a few summers where I framed houses, and I was a trim carpenter for a while, and I've done a lot of jobs like that, but I guarantee everybody in this room has a better feel for building the whole house than I do. Okay? So, how are you going to let your customer know that? You going to say the same thing everybody else is saying? We're honest, we're good. Blah, 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 blah. What are general contractors most famous for? What do you think? What do you think the general public, if you're going to say general contractors, what are you all most famous for? Huh? Say it, what? Walking away, being late, things like that. Do you agree? Is that common? Guys, I was a car salesman for years. I'll tell you what car salesmen are famous for. Bullshit. I wasn't, but the industry sure was. Okay? It's all right to confront what people have a general stigma about us, right? Okay? It's all right to know those things. In fact, it's crucial. I'm going to tell you something right now. Today's day and age, people like you to come out and say what's going on. And let me encourage all of you guys right now to address that whenever you're talking to anybody, whenever you're putting anything online. Address it. Address it. Figure out a way to address it and address it. When a car customer would come into the car lot where I was working, I sold Ford trucks and I sold Toyotas. And I'll tell you what, when the customer would come in, they show up on the lot, and I'd say, you must be desperate. And they say, what do you mean? I'm like, why the hell would you be down at a car lot dealing with a person like me? You could probably be anywhere. You must really need the truck pretty bad. And they'd laugh and they'd say, well, yeah, actually. I say, hey, look, I understand how hard it is to go out and buy a car, and you're going to deal with a lot of crappy salesmen who just want your money. I want your money, but I also want you to be happy. I'll work real hard to make you happy, and I'll do my best to get you to buy this truck, but I won't put any pressure on you that you can't handle. How about that? Oh, okay. Suddenly, guess what? The table is set, and we were able to do some business. Right now, most customers who are about to build a house with you, the thing that they're worried about most is you going over budget and taking too long. You agree with that? How many of you guys are addressing those two things right off the bat in the first 5 seconds you have your conversation? Okay, a couple of you. You always want to make sure you get that out there. Guys, the customer in the 21st century, it's the millennial mindset. It's not just millennials. A lot of times we think about millennials, we think about, 20-year-old kids who are still living in their parents' basement, doing all kinds of stuff and, playing video games. It's a mindset. My own mother has been affected by this mindset. I'm 38, my youngest brother's 28. Okay, so he's a millennial, I think, technically, right? And as a young man, he was buying things online. And guess where my mom does all of her shopping? Online. She goes to stores very rarely. She gets packages all the time from Amazon, Nordstrom, all places she likes. And everything shows up. So she's been affected by these millennials. Everyone has. Everyone has. The main thing that's really changed here, guys, is that information is no longer a bargaining chip. It used to be a bargaining chip. In the car business, you wanted a car, you called into the car lot 10 years ago, and you'd say, hey, give me your best price on a Super Duty diesel, with a long bed and a four-door. And then I would say, if I was a real corny salesman, well, the best price on the wrong truck doesn't make much of a difference. Why don't you guys heard this line before? Why don't you come on down here, pick one out, and we'll work on it. See, that's my feeble attempt of getting you to come down into my pressure zone, my kill box, right? Bring you into the spot where I can shoot you and kill you and take your money and put pressure on you, embarrass you in front of your kids and get you to buy a truck, right? That's how they teach you to do it. That's not how I did it, but that's how they teach you to do it. And so the problem is nowadays you can't do that because guess what? You can go online, you can download 30, 40, 50 videos about the truck you want to buy. You can hear different competitive analyses from people who do this for a living. You can read on it, you can study on it. Heck, you can go to the manufacturer's website and build your own truck. You know exactly what you want. So if information is no longer a bargaining chip, how do we get people to take us seriously and do business with us? Who hates bidding on a job and then having somebody else go somewhere else with that same bid you just gave them and then show it to the next contractor and they beat it by 2% or 1%? Doesn't that suck? Guess what? There's a way to stop that. I'll tell you something about human beings. If you don't know this already, you're gonna find a lot of relief in this. Human beings are emotional. Very, very, very emotional. In fact, they're so emotional that they make every single decision in their life based on emotion, and then they rationalize with logic. 100% of the time. Every time. You guys, there's a car, an Italian car, it's called a Ferrari. You know what a Ferrari is? And a Ferrari is the worst car ever made. It's horrible. They break all the time. The leather they put on the seats is too thin. You put 10,000 miles on them, it'll show wear on them. It's a horrible car. They're not good. And they don't hold a lot of stuff. It's not a great car. But yet people will pay these crazy amounts, kind of money you can buy a house with, $200,000 to $300,000 for a car, right? And that's one of the entry-level ones. The real exclusive ones are north of that. So why would you go to this whole hassle to get a car that really isn't that special, especially in today's world? Why? Because you're emotional. Because the name. Because you want it. Is it the cheapest solution on the market? Do you think that someone's going in there with a Ferrari bid for a Ferrari, and they're going to the Porsche store, and Porsches are half as much money? You think Porsche's closing a lot of deals based on that? They're not. I got a friend who's got a Ferrari, and I've driven it a few times, and I pulled into a Porsche dealership to meet a friend to look at a car, and all the Porsche guys came out, and they huddled over this car. You take a Porsche, you go to the Ferrari dealership, and nobody comes out and huddles around it. Tell you something, doesn't it? Anyway, the long and short of it, guys, is that perception is reality. Perception is reality. I took a belt that's available, been available 40 years in China and all kinds of places like that, and I made it popular. Not because I'm so clever, not because I invented anything, not because I got some incredible, bizarre patent, right? Because I marketed it well. So guys, that's a belt. Belts are stupid. I think we've agreed that, right? We've gone over that. It's like the worst idea of all time. It's dumb. It's horrible. Tell you what, guys. Building actually has a pretty big barrier to entry. Belts doesn't. Anybody with $5,000 can get in the belt business. At $5,000, I'll show you how to get in the belt business. You come run me out of business. Give it your best shot. You can't get into building for $5,000. So the good news is you have a high barrier to entry. High barrier to entry. Not everybody's going to come out and do it. But we still have that problem, though, don't we? We have that problem with someone coming to us, bidding a house, and going out there and showing it to another contractor, and then the other contractor can say, oh, well, they're charging you too much for this and that, and you don't need this and you don't need that, blah, 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 blah. And blowing us out of the water, right? And then even after we've made a deal with a customer, my parents have built 2 houses. My dad's a teacher. He's a history teacher. So dad's got lots of money. And my dad's not only a history teacher, he's an expert in the New Testament in Jesus Christ. So there's tons of money in that, right? Everybody's, just eager to buy all his books. But the point is, guys, this is that Dad's built these houses, okay? And he's worked with contractors. And have any of you ever had anybody like make any last-minute changes? Like, they decide they do or don't want dormers, or suddenly they want a whole new wing of the house or something. And they're like my dad, and they don't have a lot of money. Does that ever happen? How bad does that screw up what you're doing? How bad does it screw it up? Would you agree that probably 70% of the time, the reason things go over budget and things go too long is because the customer's indecisive, waiting until last minute to pick up the towel for the bathroom, screwing things up? Is that a fact or not? Well, yeah or no? Okay, I agree with that. That's what it is. I watched my parents do houses. I really look at my pop. I remember being 14 and thinking, Dad, you shouldn't be changing your mind at this point in the game. You need to let him do his thing, And that's how it's got to be. So how do we get our customers, okay? Do you think, okay, now back this up. When I was selling Ford trucks, you got any Ford truck drivers in here? Yeah. Ford, pretty good pickup. I'll tell you what, the worst thing about selling Ford pickups, though, is that there are so many darn options. The chance of you coming in and wanting the exact truck I have is impossible. Coming in here, well, I want this, I want that. I mean, there's like 600 options on a Ford truck. It's a real nightmare. So people come down and say, this truck's all perfect, everything I like, except it doesn't have the extra heavy-duty tow mirrors as opposed to the regular heavy-duty tow mirrors. It doesn't have the cab lights on top, whatever it might be. And so you end up in this whole situation where you're gonna have to figure out how to order a truck, and it's gonna take weeks and weeks and weeks. You gotta add it to your backlash of things, and it's gonna screw up everything, okay? And mostly, you're not gonna get paid now. When do we wanna get paid, now or later? Now, okay? Time is a real thing. In fact, it's the only thing that really matters. $10 million over the course of, 100 years isn't that much money. My dad just came out with his thing, and he realized that in his career of working 40 years, he's made almost $2 million. That's a lot of money, but not over 40 years, right? And if he had all that $2 million all at once at the very beginning of his career, how different would my dad's finances look? Pretty different. So when do we want to get paid? Now. Absolutely now. A day early, 2 days early. Whatever we can do to get paid now is important, okay? When they sell one of these crazy Ferraris, do you think that, first of all, do you think they're doing a lot of negotiating? Yes or no? They're not. Do you see any Ferrari commercials on TV? No. Why not? There's reasons behind all this, right? If you advertise price, that's all people are going to care about. And that's a business for sure. Walmart makes an entire living. It's called an everyday low-cost provider. And that's all they focus on. That's it. That's what they do. And you can go that way with your business, no problem. But let me suggest to you that a more profitable route is in store for you, okay? I have always experienced that the customers who are the most happy with the things that I've sold them didn't always pay the least amount of money. Has that occurred for any of you? A lot of times your happiest customers, they paid full price. And it doesn't make you a bad person charging full price. I believe in the economy. I believe in capitalism. That's what makes this country rock. Right? It's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with having a customer pay what you're owed. And one of the biggest mistakes people get into is they start going into a fear-selling mode. Okay? And they start making deals, and they start discounting things, and they start just pushing things along, whatever. And we got a problem here. Because what happens when you advertise price? That's all anybody's going to talk about. Ferrari didn't talk about price for a reason. What do they talk about? Style, exclusivity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? Now, here's the thing, guys. Here's what's so crazy about life. Okay? I told you before that human beings, they make decisions based on emotion, and then they rationalize with logic. Okay? I remember, selling. It's a lady come in and she'd want to buy a Suburban or a Sequoia, some big family car, all right? And they got 3 kids, so you need that 3rd row of seats because twice a week at the neighbor kids with you, and that justifies buying that whole big car, whatever. And the lady come in and say, well, there's a few things I'm going to need on this car. I said, all right, my pleasure. I'd like to help you. What would you like? Well, I have to have leather. Really? Okay, no problem. That sounds pretty good. What else do you have to have? Well, I have to have rear DVD entertainment system. Oh, okay. Well, what else do you have to have? Well, it's got to be black. Has to be black. I said, these sound like great things. Let's make this happen for you. We can do this. Oh, there's just one more thing. I don't have a lot of money. All right. So do you mind me asking why you need all this stuff? Well, I need the leather because my kids, they're messy and leather cleans up real good. I said, you know what cleans up real good? These seat covers you can get at Walmart. They're 20 bucks and they're vinyl and they clean up better than anything. And when you're done with them, you can throw them in the washing machine. It's awesome. Did not like that idea because that was not a solution to her problem. That was a solution to my problem. You see that? And this is something that goes on in every single industry, particularly the ones where you're doing building and things that are more hands-on. We try to solve our own problems, not our customers' problems. Do you see that? How many of you don't have to raise your hand, but think about how many of you have caught yourself solving your own problems, not your customers. The real secret to this millennial mindset, okay, it's not going to be through price, okay? It's going to be about caring about your customers so darn much that they can feel it right through the screen, right through the phone, and right in person. That's it. If you don't like people, you're going to have a you're going to have an acting job ahead of you, but you're going to have to do some study and do some acting classes, because I'll tell you what, there's almost no way to fake it. You got to genuinely love people. What works for me is I always imagine every person as someone's child. Works. There are certain people who have run for president of the United States over the years that I don't particularly like. And I think of them as someone's child. And suddenly, it makes me hate their guts a little bit less. All right? Okay. Do whatever works for you, but you got to find some sort of a love for that person. You know, when a little kid makes a mistake, we all think it's so cute, right? Oh, look, he's picking his nose. We see a guy 48 years old doing that, and we're like, barf. For some reason, we stop tolerating people at a certain age. I don't know when it is, but it's somewhere between puberty and getting gray hair, but we just lose all tolerance for everybody, okay? And we end up disliking people. And the reason we dislike them is because we see them as an enemy. Oh, this person's trying to take all my money. They're trying to throw in dormers at the last minute. Can you believe these bastards? We had a deal. We were going to do this house, and now I got a problem because 6 months ago I planned to build this whole house, and now they want dormers. And they don't have any more money. And now I'm supposed to return all this other crap I bought, and they want to cut 2 feet off the garage and put it over here and all this crap. One of the things that worked really well for me when I was selling cars, and I talk about selling cars to all of you because selling cars and building actually is real similar. It's a huge expense. It's a huge, huge, huge expense. Okay? That's the point. Selling belts is pretty easy, honestly. 35, 40 bucks. I mean, it's hard to do that a lot of times, but selling one-on-one, that's fairly simple, okay? So guys, what I'm telling you is this, is you got to understand these people need permission to buy from you, and not only that, they need a roadmap. So when a customer would come in off the street, I'd make some joke about, why the hell would you want to be in a car lot? It's a beautiful day. Don't you have a family? Doesn't God love you? Why are you here? And they'd say, well, you know, they'd play it down, whatever. And I'd say, look, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's how this is going to work. We're going to find a car you like or a truck or whatever that is. I'll help you find it, okay? And then, if you like it, you can agree to buy it. Of course, if all the math and everything is the way you want. And then, it's going to take an hour to an hour and a half to get you out of here paperwork-wise. The reason for that is there's a lot of customers here, and there's a line to get in with the finance manager. Frankly, the sooner you make a decision, the sooner you'll get out of here. I'll do my very, very best to make this the best car buying experience you've ever had, and you'll never want to buy a car from anybody but me. And it's not because I'm a great guy, not because I'm so fun or interesting, but because I respect your time and your money. That's it. At that point there, what's the temperature of the room? What's the mood? Have I gone ahead and just taken the pink elephants out of the room? Have I addressed the stuff that they're going to be facing? Have I told them how long it's going to take? So suddenly these people say, look, I realize it's 2 o'clock now. If I make a decision in the next 30 minutes, I could be out here by 4. That's realistic. And I usually have them out 20, 30 minutes before time. But that makes all the difference in the world. Now, when one of these crazy Ford customers would come in here and they'd want this truck exactly the way they wanted it, and they had to wait 8, 9 weeks to get it, you think I could just take their money and just call them the day the truck showed up? Do you know how many of those deals go sideways? Just a deposit. They come ask for their money back, you have to give it to them. Okay? Just not only just for good conscience, but good business practices, right? So how do you keep a person like on the hook for 8 or 9 weeks? By following up with them every freaking Monday. So I would take a deposit from somebody for a truck, go through the whole thing, and I would call them every Monday and say, hey, just want to let you know, I'm watching this truck. I don't have any new information, but I'm letting you know that I'm waiting for it. I'm excited for it. You still excited? Good. Okay. 30-second phone call. Follow-up, guys, is one of the key elements to making sure a customer not only stays yours, but stays happy. Customers that are happy do what? They complain less, right? Especially to their friends and neighbors. You all realize that you're in a referral business, right? Don't make it hard for them to refer you. It can be so gosh darn easy. And the reason it's easy is because everybody else is so bad at it. I sold cars, I was the best. Absolutely the best. In the state I lived in, the best. There's nobody better than me. And the reason for that is not because I'm, once again, some brilliant, clever guy, but just compared to the blacktop, a piece of coal looks pretty shiny and nice, doesn't it? Real special. So I actually followed up with people and didn't lie to anybody. Isn't that shocking? What an incredible business principle. All right? Now, once again, this is selling Ford pickup trucks, a company I don't even own. Right? But you're able to stand out. Back to this millennial mindset, guys, back to understanding this human being. This millennial mindset, not only do they have all the information on everything, not only do they already understand what it should cost per square foot based on a bunch of blogs they read, they think they know everything, right? Not only do they have all this information here, okay, whatever, but they've also done some research on, guess what? Y'all. They've Googled your name and checked it out. And they're checking to see if your name's in the Better Business Bureau, or if there's some kind of a thing on Yelp, or if people think you're a jerk, or if you've been to prison, or arrested, cross-dressing. They're looking for things to find out about you, okay? I'll tell you, I'd be really honest with you. That's what people do. They go and they look, they're searching. They're going to spend this money. I'd say about 75% of the people who are about to spend money on something big, they're going to go out and they're going to check you out. They're going to Google you online. They're going to get to the bottom of it. Now, what are they going to find? What are they going to find? What are they going to find? Anybody who's remotely successful, let me just clear it up for you right now, has something bad written about them on the internet. If you don't have people who hate your guts or don't like you, you're doing something wrong. It's a fact. There is no way to have everybody like you. Do you know that? Whether you know it or not, it's true. Whether you're okay with it or not, it's true. There's people who think I'm the biggest jerk in the whole darn world. And I'm not. I'm pretty nice most of the time. All right? So how do we make that difference? What do we do to make sure we combat all that stuff? Anybody know how a credit score works? Credit score boils down to all your good credit and weighs it against your bad credit. Now some of you might say, well, I don't have any bad credit. Yeah, but do you have a high credit card debt? Do you have a late payment sometime in the last 10 years? Yeah, some of us do. How do you compete with that, though? How do you deal with that? By having more good credit than bad credit, right? Does that fix credit? It does, 100%. So people are going to go out and search for you, and there's one place they're going to be looking for it. Guys, anything that happens on the second page of the internet, it's like it never even happened. The first page is what it's all about. Okay? That's what it's all about. All right? And there's going to be people who complain and don't like you. Has anyone ever dealt with an irrational customer? I sure have. I've dealt with some real maniacs, you know? Because there's a thing, guys, I'm going to tell you, it's called the 1% rule. What the 1% rule means is that 1% of all people are never going to like you. In fact, they're going to dislike you. And anytime they're involved in a big transaction, like a car or a house, they're going to not only let you know about it, but everybody else. And even if you did everything perfect, they're going to dislike you. I'm sure this is probably true in insurance too. Is that about right, Mr. Hotchkiss? 1% of these people are not going to like you no matter what you do. You could be the perfect, you could do everything just right, and people are not going to like you. And guess what? It's okay. Not everybody likes the current president of the United States, but he's president, isn't he? I say half the country probably doesn't like him all that much. You agree? But guess what? He's a president. So is it okay if 1% of all people hate your guts? Is it? Yes? Yes. Come on, everything's supposed to be big in Texas. Even responses, you know what I'm saying? Yes. Yeah, there you go. Guys, where I'm going with this here is that it's okay, but what you've got to do is you've got to combat it. Who here has an active website? Okay, that's good. Who has video testimonials of your customers telling people how much they like their house on your website? YouTube? Instagram? Facebook? For some of you, that might sound like a fairly daunting task. Here's the trick is, you don't need to get people on there and talk about how much they like you. All they have to do is talk about how much they like their house. A video on there that just says, boy, I'll tell you what, my insurance sure worked. Man, I totaled my car and I got a check, and I get my insurance from the Hotchkiss family. Does that sound good? You don't have to get somebody to focus on you specifically and say something nice about you specifically. You don't have to draw it out of people. You don't need to put on a Hollywood production. I think most people think about reviews. They're like, okay, which customer do I know well enough who could say something nice about me? They don't have to. Just get them on there, whatever. The day you hand them the keys specifically, okay, hand them the keys, whatever, and get them for a few minutes, or right in the middle of building it. Pick a happy day where they're happy. Bust out your iPhone. You don't need to go get a big fancy camera crew. It's nice if you can afford it, but just get out of the phone, whatever, and record them and say, tell us about why you decided to build your home here. And they'll talk for 4 or 5 minutes. Pull 30 seconds out of that, and there'll be a juicy bit in there that'll say, oh my gosh, I love this. Hand it over to a video editor, somebody who can put your name and website in the bottom of it. That's a marketing video, 30 seconds. Put 10 of those together, it's a sizzle reel. Do you guys see that video they played for me up here? Do you see that? My assistant just pulled a bunch of crap that was from online, rolled it into one thing, put some music to it, and boom. That's it. Now I get along pretty well with Mark Cuban and a couple other guys, and that doesn't hurt, right? It's good if you can have somebody real impressive give you a shout out. That's awesome. But guys, just normal people saying good things about you it's easy. And it doesn't even have to be about you. Once again, it can just be about general. Oh, I'm so happy we finally started building our house. We decided to go with XYZ construction company because they were so nice. Great. Get it. Download it. Do you know that is the most persuasive thing in the whole world? Someone can go out and say something nasty about you online, but guess what? It's going to be in the written form. Do you agree? How many people have the guts to tell you they don't like you to your face? Not very many people. But online, from the security of a computer, way in the mom's basement, they got no problem saying all kinds of horrible stuff about you. The written word is nothing. You guys remember a guy named Napoleon, little French dude, not this big? He said a picture's worth 1,000 words. If that's true, then video's worth 1,000,000. You guys throw up some videos like this, get yourself a little YouTube channel, and if you're not comfortable doing it, hire somebody. Do you know how many kids there are that are dying to do this kind of work and will work for 10 or 12 bucks an hour working on this kind of stuff? They have two options. I can work at the Dairy Queen for 8 bucks, or I can do stuff for this cool construction company for 12 bucks an hour. Well, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And for 100 bucks, you're going to have your own YouTube channel with videos on it. You can do this, guys. I'm telling you, this is one of the greatest secrets of the 21st century, video. And it's not that stressful. It is not that stressful. I don't care what business you're in. Insurance, construction, belts. There's nothing better than someone just talking positively about their experience with you. And it doesn't even have to be all that incredible. I love my new house. And then on the bottom, built by so-and-so. Well, if they love their house, then I'm going to love my house. Right? All the time, we're always so interested in having celebrity endorsements. Guys, you don't even need celebrities. Most time, the most convincing people in the world look normal. People look at them and say, well, if they're happy, I'll be happy too. If they got a family, put the family in there. Make it happen. Okay? People in today's economy are so obsessed with price. Price, price, price. And I'm going to shop you. I'm going to get on this app and find out who has the cheapest flights. But most times, when we go with a cheap airline, nobody here owns an airline, do they? There's a couple of rotten airlines that I'd never fly on. Right? There's one called Spirit Airlines. I never fly on Spirit. Right? I got a friend who flies on Spirit all the time because he's cheap and he's dumb. And he only flies about twice a year, and he's an older guy, and he's got so much damn money, it's insane. And one of the reasons he's got so much money is because, he flies on Spirit Airlines probably, right? But every time you get on there, they charge you for everything. You want to bring on a carry-on? Well, that's $20. You want to check on a bag? That's $50. You want to listen to music? Well, that's $1. It's like just, and they're always late because they don't have enough aircraft. There's all kinds of crap and problems with it, right? And whenever he gets off those flights, he says, I'm never flying Spirit again. I never want to fly Spirit again. And then 7, 8 months later, we go somewhere, I'd be like, you're late. Oh, damn Spirit Airlines. And it's like the man just never learns. And there are people like that, okay? But guess what? At the end of the day, I've figured out that flying on Spirit Airlines costs just about as much as it costs to fly on one of the premier carriers. By the time you figure in all the costs and all the add-ons and all the secret stuff, you guys are in the insurance business. Do you ever have any competition from companies who market on television solely? Do they get the same kind of service? Can you text that person and tell them you're having a problem at 2 in the morning? Certainly not. I don't do insurance with people that I don't know personally. I only buy insurance with people that I know personally because I'm smart. Okay? If I can't text that person doesn't exist. They're not real. That's how I feel about it. I'm serious. That's how I feel about it. And I'm right 99% of the time because when I need something, hey, I'm having this problem. I don't have to get in some queue and deal with somebody who's never met me before. On the other hand, I deal with Mr. Hotchkiss, who already knows all my stuff. Guess what? He knows what cars I have. He knows my situation. He knows what I'm going to want to do. And he's going to get after it. Why? Because he wants to preserve the relationship. And guys, that's what I want to talk to you about next. Preserving and building relationships. Okay? That is what it is all about. That's what it is all about. There was a guy I knew who used to sell cars. His name's Todd. Todd wasn't as good at car salesman as I was. But Todd had been doing this for about 27 years. This guy never needed a new customer ever. He treated his customers so good that they referred everybody. He worked entirely off of appointments. He never left his office. Never. It was amazing. It was incredible. And the guy sold almost as many cars as I did. And I was working my guts out. I was working 12, 14, 15-hour days. And this guy would come in for 7 hours, went out, boom, just done. The guy was amazing. And I learned a few things from him that were really incredible. You guys are going to realize that nobody knows everything. But you'll find people who become an expert in one particular area. I've become an expert in this particular field. I can hardly do anything else, though. I'm practically an idiot. I'm serious. But I can do this. And the reason I can do all this is I didn't go to some fancy college. I barely graduated high school myself, right? Much to my father's chagrin. Dad has a PhD, and he wasn't too pleased when I told him that I wouldn't be moving on to higher education. Dad doesn't complain now. I pay for his car. But let me just tell you something here, guys. Huge fights between me and my dad all through high school. You're going to end up living in a trailer and this and that, whatever. I now own a mobile home park, right? It's like, whatever. People are crazy. So, you can't let other people guide you. And guys, let me tell you this right now. Never take advice from somebody who isn't where you want to be. Never do that. Never, never, never do that. There's a really popular comedian named Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson's been married like 7 times. Okay? And one time he did this real funny act where he was with Julio Iglesias, and he pretended to be Willie Nelson. He dressed like Willie Nelson, and he sang the song, "To All the Girls I've Loved Before." And there's a funny line where he says, "To all the girls I've loved before who've come in and out my door." And he looks into the camera, and it's funny, because Johnny had like 7 wives. Is this a person that you would want to take marriage advice from? Not at all. Maybe some other things, but not in that particular area, right? And it's okay. he was still really funny and good at his job. Would you want to take advice from him if you were to learn how to tell some jokes? You bet. So guys, realize this, as you're taking advice and as you're building all this stuff you're doing, don't go to one single person for everything, especially if that person claims to know everything, because I guarantee you they don't. They just don't. Okay? This world does not favor the well-rounded. It favors the extremist. We like Michael Jordan because he does that one thing. Right? We like him because he does that one thing. That's it. They don't have a guy kicking the football and then also throwing it. You got your specific job. That's what you do. Do people like football in Texas still? A little bit? Guys, this world favors experts. Okay? So always make sure you get your advice from an expert. I'll tell you that. That is the absolute fact. Once again, another reason, you need to make yourself what? The expert. Who here knows a lot about building houses? Do you? I don't know shit about it. You guys know about it? Okay. Are you experts? Yes or no? Yes. Texas? Yes, you're experts. What types of things are you doing to let your customers know that you are an expert? You think having a sign that says XYZ Building Company makes you an expert? Who do I want to hire? Do I want to hire the guy who's well-rounded? Let's say I'm going into a trial, and I'm being accused of something that I did or didn't do, it doesn't matter. Do I want the guy who also plays the cello and has a great relationship with his kids, or do I want the guy who literally has suffered in every aspect of his life because he's so obsessed with the law? Which guy do I want? I want the second guy. I want the guy who's obsessed. I want the workaholic. I want the guy who spends all day reading about the law so he can do what? Save my butt. Okay? One of the big mistakes, guys, that we make when we start making business deals with people, whatever, we start talking to them, is we start talking a lot about us. I told you before, we start solving our own problems. We also start talking about us. And we do these corny things. And once again, guys, the car selling analogy works so well. It works so well because all of you bought a car, and you know what corny bastard car salespeople can be, right? Oh, you like to fish? Me too. You got a mother? Me too. I had 2 grandmothers as well. We have so much in common. It's insane. And it's not enough. In fact, if you're trying to relationship build by coming up with commonalities, I mean, you may as well just be guessing at people's names. Oh, what's your name? Hold on, I'm good at this. Larry. No. Brad. No? Mike? Jason. You look like a Jason. No? Isn't it easier just to ask them what their name is? Yes or no? Okay. So think about this. When a customer comes to you, well, comes to me for a truck, or would come to me for a truck, what do they want? Do they care about where I'm from? Do they care about how many kids I got? Do they care about my bad ankle? Which I don't really have. I just threw that in there for make it interesting. Do they care about where I'm going on vacation? They don't care. And guys, that's the big joke, that nobody cares. You know what they care about? Getting the truck they want in a timely way and getting out of there. That's what it's about. So when your customers come to work with you, rather than try to schmooze them and try to find commonalities, focus on them. Once again, back to Johnny Carson. You guys all remember Johnny Carson, don't you? Johnny Carson was on air for like 32 years or something. And the reason that he was on air for so long is he did something absolutely crucial. Something that if you will do for your customers, I swear to you, you will never run out of them and they will love you till the day you die. He made everybody the star of the show. He was on every night, but the star of the show was whoever. And he'd laugh hard at people's jokes, and he'd give them an opportunity to be brilliant and interesting. And I'll tell you what, guys, you give your customers a chance to talk about themselves. They say that the most used word in the English language is me. I believe that. And then secondly, I and me and I. People want to talk about themselves. They're desperate to do it. Let them talk. And many of you probably heard this, that most conversations is a series of 2 people waiting to talk. How would it be if you had 2 people pitching baseballs at each other? You need a catcher, don't you? Yeah? Be the catcher. Catch it. Talk less, listen more. Lots more. And when they tell you something you don't find terribly interesting, change the subject. But you give them a chance to talk about something else about them. You don't do it. You say, oh, that's interesting. Oh, wow, you lived in Tennessee. Oh, that's real interesting. That's cool. Well, what made you decide to move out here? That's an interesting subject. Let them tell you about it. Let them tell you about their dead grandfather. Let them tell you about whatever they want. Because I'll tell you what, when they start telling you things about themselves, two things happen. One, they feel at ease. And secondly, you end up knowing a whole heck of a lot about them, don't you? Car customer would come in, and I guess I recommend this for you as well. Car customer would come in, and the first three questions I'd ask them, guys, why are you here at a car lot today? I mean, it's a beautiful day outside, or it's raining, or it's a snowstorm, whatever. There's a million other places you could be. Why are you here? And they'll tell you why. Well, you know, I need a truck. Okay, great. Don't expect amazing answers out of people, by the way. Okay, because most people answer yes and no. Give them every opportunity to give you more, but don't push them. And the second question I'd ask them, well, guys, great. Why did you decide to come to Ford? Why Ford and not Chevy or Dodge or one of these other people? Why Ford? Well, you know, I've never had a Ford. Or, you know what, my grandfather always had Fords. Or, you know what, this is my third Ford. Note to self, these people are here because they like Fords, whatever it is. Or they've had a bad experience at Dodge and their engine just blew up and so they're here. They'll tell you. They will tell you why. Next question, why are you here at this particular dealership? Why are you at Tri-City Ford? Well, because I was just up the road at the other Ford dealer and they offered me way too little for my diesel. Note to self, be real careful about how much you offer these people for their truck. Sounds crazy, right? And the next question, this is probably the best one. Guys, why today? Why right now? Why not 2 weeks from now? Why now? You know, my wife just crashed our car. I just got a raise. My lease is up. They're going to give you all the information you need in order to make a sale. I've spoken very little, but they've had a chance to talk a lot, haven't they? And I've made them the star of the show. I've made it all about them. Instead of trying to, oh yeah, well, I had the same truck. Who cares? Nobody gives a crap if you had that truck or not. If they want to know, they'll ask. They don't care. Take this into building. Get a customer. Guys, building a house takes a long time, and it can be expensive. What's made you decide to come out and talk to us about a house? Well, my wife and I, we've always wanted a dream house. Well, we just found out we're pregnant with triplets, and we need to have, a bigger house. Oh, you know, I just got a big raise at my job. Oh, we're going to build our dream house. Whatever the answer is. They all sound about like that, though, don't they? Nobody in there saying, well, I'm just bored. And even if they say that, that's okay. Your next question, follow up with them and say, guys, why have you decided to build in this particular area? Well, because my job's right down the road here. Because my family lives here, my grandmother's here. Good information. You get all that? Start putting that in your pockets. That's good stuff. Okay? And the next question, guys, why have you decided to come talk to me? There's a lot of options. A lot of people can build houses for you. Why have you decided to talk to me? Well, and at that point, they can tell you, well, I'm actually working with 2 other builders. Thank you. Good information to have, isn't it? Do you see how we're going down this road? And all I've done is ask some simple, innocent questions. Would anyone feel like if I was prying, if I was asking those questions, would anyone feel uncomfortable if I asked you those questions? See, a lot of times we think questioning is interrogating, and we never want to interrogate. But you ask those questions, and people are going to start telling us things. Things we can use to what? Close the deal. All right? You always hear there'll always be closing, all that stuff, whatever. You guys got to close. But rather than go hardcore and push on people, you got to let them come to you. Take all that information you got from them and say, well, guys, those 2 other companies you're working with, that sounds real interesting. What did you like so far? And most of the times, they won't tell you what they liked. They'll tell you what they didn't like. Because people are just naturally negatively charged. They just can't help it. What did you like about those 2 other companies? Well, they were okay, but I was a little concerned about, note to self, something to use to close you on this deal. Otherwise, you're just guessing at stuff. Well, guys, we have these great prices. For all you know, the guy doesn't care about price. Most of the time when I buy something, I'm not worried about the price. I'm worried about getting something good. Most of the time when you get a good deal, you get something crappy. You get half of a service. You get half of a product. You get something that doesn't have quite as many nails in it. Right? Yeah? Okay. And there's people like me who don't sell me on that. I went to buy my son a hat. We were in Florida. We were in Key West, and he wanted to get a hat that had a brim that would cover his neck and stuff. And we go in there, and we're looking at hats. And I walk in there, and I'm just wearing a T-shirt or whatever. We're in Florida. We're hanging out. And I say, could you show me the best hat you have for a boy? And he says, well, I've got some really inexpensive hats over here. Let me show you those. I said, that's not what I asked. I want the best hat you have. Well, these can be pretty expensive. I'm like, how expensive? He's like, $100. I said, right. Show me those. That's what I want. I want the very best hats you have. I had to tell this guy, reassert myself 3 times to get him to take me over to the nice hats. Now, I'm a very aggressive customer, right? Most people will just leave. 99% of all people are not as aggressive as me, and they will leave. And you'll say, I wonder why they didn't build that house with me. It's because you're trying to sell them something they didn't want. Subconsciously, you're talking about price. Subconsciously, you're talking about how fast you are. Maybe this person doesn't care. Wherever you're sticking your nose, make sure that you know that that is a point of pain. Now, if this guy had come to this hat thing, whatever, he should have said, well, what are you 2 fine gentlemen doing? Oh, you like a hat? Great. What kind of a hat do you want for this boy? Does money matter? Nope. Great. And how about you, Dad? Why don't you have a hat on? He could have sold me a hat, probably. I'm pretty dumb. Probably could have sold me a matching hat to go along with my son's hat, but he didn't. I walked out of there without a hat. And when I was done, I looked at my son, who's 9, and I said, what'd you notice wrong with that? And he says, he didn't try to sell you a hat. I said, that's exactly right. And my son's picking up on things, whatever, he's learning stuff. And he's learned to watch TV commercials where they show people like caring about you and stuff, whatever. And I've always taught him at the end of every commercial to add the words, and we just want your money. Next time you watch a TV commercial, add, and we just want your money to the end, and it'll almost ring true in every case. The commercials where you can't add that at the end are good commercials. Every other commercial is crap. Please try things with Humira. We really care about you. And all we want is your money. Rings really true. And you'll start noticing this. The important reason for this little exercise, though, guys, is for you to understand the things you're saying. If you can add that little sentence on the back of what you said valuable, nope. If there's no way to add that to the back, then you've actually said something good. Now, I don't want you to overemphasize or overthink this. I want you to be simple and speak less. You let people do the talking. Have you ever been in a conversation where you're doing all the talking, and by the time you're done, you feel kind of awkward because you've given them tons of information, and you're like, well, what about you? Has that ever happened to you? It's happened to me before. How do you think that person feels? They feel indebted to you, right? Have you ever noticed that? Have you? It's a natural human reaction. You can't beat it. You can't help it. You can't help it. Anything that makes them feel like they owe you is going to what? Make them want to do business with you. That's it. Subconscious. People can't help it. Who do we do business with? People we dislike or people we love? Right? Guys, I have a nephew who came to my office, and my sister says he's going to be doing a jogathon. You guys know what a jogathon is? Kids run around laps, and you sponsor them. And they say, Nate, what can you sponsor your nephew? I said, $25. She says, that's really generous. I said, really? She's like, yeah, that's as much as your brother did. And I said, well, put me down for double that. Heck, $50. By the time they leave, I'm up to $100 because I'm feeling so good about it. It's no big deal. $100 to me, no big thing. Anyway, comes back 3 days later, and I learned that it's not a flat rate sponsorship, it's per lap. And my nephew, he's kind of not perfectly like right up here, whatever. And that boy, he can run. It's Forrest Gump, man. And he comes back, he ran 56 freaking laps, man. I put away my own personal checkbook and busted out the business checkbook at that one. That became a corporate-sponsored event very quickly. I wanted to kill myself. My goodness, he was 7, man. But the point is, though, is why did I do that? Because that's a horrible investment, right? Why did I do it? Because I like my sister, right? Because I want to keep a good relationship with her. We do business with people we like, not who provides the best service. You understand that? So guys, the big takeaway from all this here is this. In order to be amazing, all you have to do is be yourself, Stop talking about yourself. Ask somebody questions, okay? And get them to say nice things about their house or whatever, put it on video and put it online so somebody can go out there, Google you, check you out, come back, feel like they're the star of the show, go home, and want to make a decision. You worry about your negotiations, you worry about all that stuff, no problem. But people are going to make the decision to work with you over money every time if you've done your part. If you try to chase the money here, whatever, you're all going to end up being real sorry, you're going to be working cheap, and you're going to be battling stuff, and it's going to be horrible. The millennial mindset is not going away, it is here, and it has infected everybody. My 87-year-old grandmother, my 93-year-old grandmother who lives here is affected by it. She's always stalking me on Instagram, saying all kinds of horrible, embarrassing things on there or whatever, you know. It's affected everybody, and you guys are all part of it, okay? You can sell yourself in a meaningful way, you're going to make more money than you know what to do with. I love being in Texas, and I'm so glad you guys have had it here. Mr. Hodgkiss, once again, thank you so much for paying my fee, and thank you guys. I appreciate it. Okay. It sounds like we're going to do a couple of questions. Time for 2 questions. Okay. I don't use any notes or anything, and I don't use stuff. I just kind of talk. I think that's better than using all the slides, you know. I didn't like school much, and I didn't want to put you guys in the same position where so it's good, right? 2 questions. Where we got? I can barely see. Yes, sir.
I was listening, but at what point do you talk about money when doing business?
Okay. His question is, what point do you talk about money? Okay? You don't have to talk about money until they talk about it. They will ask. You don't need to bring it up. Isn't that crazy? Think about it. Think about this. Whenever you've bought something, have you ever been too embarrassed to ask how much it costs? A house is a big thing. If they don't ask, they don't care. When they want to talk about it, you talk about it. That's the exact right time. If you find somebody who's never asked you questions about buying something, doing it, whatever, ask them for the sale. If you feel the time's right, ask them for the sale. Time's gone by, you've been talking to people for weeks and weeks. Say, great, folks, we'd love to get your deposit. It's going to be 10 grand or 20 grand or 200 grand. And then at that point there, they can say, well, let's talk about money. Okay. But don't push the money thing. Let them talk about it. Let them talk about it. All you want them to do is feel good about you. And you can even say this to kind of disclose things. You can just say, hey, look, you know what? A house is going to basically cost you what a house is going to cost you. The difference is I'm not going to rip you off. I don't buy lumber cheaper than anybody else. I don't have some secret thing. Whatever. The difference is I care a whole lot more about you than anybody else does because this is what I do. I'm going to make sure every board gets enough nails. You go to somebody else, you might not get enough nails. And that $3,000 is going to seem awful cheap when the winds start blowing. Do not sell price, guys. Do not sell price. Do not sell price. Do not sell price. Okay? It will be a mistake and it will be your undoing. There's a few occasions where you got to throw somebody a bone or do something in order to make a deal happen, you know. They say, hey, look, guys, if you guys can come off $5 grand, I'll do it. Great. Nothing else after $5,000. You'll make no more things. You make the deposit right now? Okay, let's do it. Don't be afraid to negotiate. You're all business people. But don't bring it up. Let them bring it up. Ask for that sale. Ask for that deposit. And then they're going to say, well, how much is it going to cost? Well, great. And say it's about the same as everybody else. One more. Yes?
Okay. So years ago, one of our clients said to us, a prospective client said, don't you know buyers are liars? So how do you get the buyer to tell us the truth?
Okay, buyers are liars. All right, that's the truth. Do you know why they lie? Because they don't trust you. Isn't that a strange thing? Interrogators, I've read a lot of books on interrogation. And we talk to guys who are actually out doing the interrogations in Afghanistan and doing all that waterboarding and stuff. I know some of those crazy dudes. And you start talking to them, you ask them stuff, whatever, and they say, the guy won't talk unless he trusts you. So somebody else goes in there and does the waterboarding, and then some other guy comes in and brings them food. It's a game. It's a high stakes game they're playing out there. So guys, I don't want you waterboarding your customers. Leave that to your competition. they're probably going to be doing that. I sold a lot of cars because I knew how crappy they were being treated everywhere else. High pressure to buy stuff. All they wanted was their money. All they could think about was the wallet. All your customers have one of these. And for you ladies, think about times you've been on dates and you're like, no, my eyes are up here, look at me. Don't treat me like a piece of meat. I guarantee you some of you are treating your customers like a piece of meat because all you can see is this little wallet. See my little fancy little girly blue wallet? My daughter picked this out, and so kind of a rugged guy for this little blue wallet. But the point is, though, that buyers are liars because they don't trust you. If you'll do the steps that I told you, you'll create trust. When they start talking about themselves, they're going to feel like you know them. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. Once again, dating analogies are an excellent analogy for business because it's the exact same thing. Human emotion. Girl's not going to let you kiss her just because you tell her she's pretty. In fact, she's not going to believe you. But if you get to know her whole family and listen about everything, and you go out to a couple of deals here, and you get along with her sister or her brother or her nephew who runs like Forrest Gump, guess what? Trust will be there, and it will be fostered. And the trick, guys, here is this. To keep the trust going, the way you keep the trust going is through those follow-up calls. There is no such thing as too much follow-up. There is no such thing. Feel free to send a customer an email on a weekly basis, a daily basis, and say, here's where we're at. Here's what's going on. A customer is anxious. Right now I'm having a four-wheel drive built for myself, and this guy, he's world-renowned. He's good. He's amazing, and he's expensive, and he follows up horribly. So consequently, every week I'm just like, well, what the hell's going on with my car? What's going on? And all I wanted to see is some pictures of my car just sitting there with no seats in it. That's all I want to do. I just want to make sure everything's cool. That's it. I just want to know. I just want to know. So you guys let your customers know that you're on top of it. And you make time every single week to do this. Create 20 minutes, 30 minutes in your day. What's the most amount of customers anybody's ever had at one time in the building business? Current projects going on, people who've paid you money. 7? Do you think you have time to make 7 phone calls per week? I know you do. I know in the car business I had time to make 200 phone calls a week. And the insurance business, these guys even have more. You can totally do 7. And they don't have to be terribly thoughtful. All you have to do is call up and say, hey, I've had so-and-so out there. We put in this amount of time. Here's what we've been doing. Things are looking good. We've got some nasty weather coming up next week, so I'm going to be focusing on this. Just let them know you got it. Because you know you got it, right? Let them know you got it. That's it. That's all it is. It's a tracking number. Does everybody buy anything on Amazon and you just can't wait for it to show up? You keep checking the tracking number. And if they don't give you a tracking number, and that's over like an $80 razor or something, right? Not special. We're talking about a house that's $100, $200, $300, $400, $1 million maybe. Do you think that they want the tracking number? Give them the tracking number. Give them the tracking number, and they will love you. They will love you. That's what this is about. And guys, I'm here to tell you all right now, you are all good enough. You don't need to invent anything. You don't need to be super clever or smart. All you need to do is smell good, brush your teeth, be friendly, ask lots of questions, make them the star of the show, and follow up like it's nobody's business, like they're the only customer you're ever going to have ever again. And I swear on all that's holy, if you will do those things, and then when you deliver the house, after you deliver the house, you call them every single week, 2 or 3 weeks after that. Hey, you've been living in the house for a while. Anything not quite right? I'll come by over and I'll fix it myself. You do that, and I swear to you, if they don't feel like they need to call you, they're going to be at such ease, they're not going to have any problem writing the checks. You build that relationship of trust right off the bat, there's never going to be any of those questions. Can I do this? Is this good enough? Absolutely, I trust this person. So give them the tracking number, be yourselves, and you guys will make such a difference. And I swear to you, you can be as goofy looking as me. My high school had like 270 kids in it, right? I'm from Nowheresville, and I figured out how to make a real big splash. And you guys can do this too. You're all good enough. You're all good enough. And you guys, you have something going for you that most places don't. This is Texas. This is one of the most sincere, wonderful places on the whole planet. People are straightforward, and they talk to you like normal people. I've been living in Los Angeles. What a bunch of horrible, rotten, stinky human beings. My goodness. If you want to have a bad time, come out and live in Los Angeles in the building I'm in for a while. And, well, you'll be glad you're in Texas. So the good news is, guys, you don't have to worry about a lot of people wasting your time. Here, people are more sincere than just about anywhere. Utah and Texas are real similar that way. And people will tell you what they're thinking most of the time when you ask them. And don't be afraid to allow for a pause. When you ask for that sale, ask for the sale, say, How about we get started on this, David? Okay. Sometimes they'll say okay, and sometimes they'll pause. The temptation for all of us is to be like a comic strip artist, where we want to fill up every speech bubble. We don't want to have anything going by without a speech bubble filled in. Don't talk. When you ask for the business, wait. It may seem unnatural, it may seem like it's going on too long, but realize not everybody's brain works as fast as yours. You give them a chance for their brain to catch up, give them a chance to laugh at the joke, give them a chance to say yes, give them a chance to answer the question. You wait. Because most people do this and say, so we ready to get started on this, David? And he's not saying it. And I say, well, because you know what we could do, and I start throwing in, I'm back to the point where I'm starting to play the guessing game with people's names again, right? Let it sit, let it sit, let it sit. And sometimes people just need a moment to say, it'll be like this, guys, let's wait. And then the customer will say, so let's get started. Guys, I'll tell you what, it's only awkward to you. It's not awkward to them. Force them to put the words in the speech bubble. Let them do it. Let them get out there. Otherwise, you're putting down your fly and you're not going to get anything for it. All right? How do we feel? Good? Yeah.
Thank you, Nate. We really appreciate that. We better let all these folks in here get out on that trade show floor and start selling, or we're going to have a revolt. So we really appreciate you being here. I want to thank Hotchkiss Insurance Agency for sponsoring this great keynote speaker. I know Nate may be around for a little while if people want to come say hi to him up here. Let's give them, everybody, another round of applause. Thank you for being here, and the trade show floor is open.